Welcome to another episode of Using AI at Work. One of the areas of AI I'm particularly interested in using at work is voice AI, and our guest, Arvell Craig, is as deep into it as anyone in the space. In addition to that, we unpack the future of chatbots, discuss AI adoption timelines, and share insights from Arvell's recent speaking engagements at events like LeadsCon and Digital Summit. This episode is packed with practical advice on AI in call centers, compliance tips, and readily applicable tactics from Arvell's book, The AI Strategy Playbook. Whether you're looking to cut costs, boost marketing performance, or navigate the complexities of AI integration, we've got you covered. Now, let's get started with this week's episode. Welcome to Using AI at Work. I'm your host, Chris Daigle. Each week, we'll be learning how today's business owners, entrepreneurs, and ambitious professionals are getting more done with smart use of tomorrow's tech. Let's get started. Okay, and this is the episode with Arvell Craig. Arvell, welcome to the podcast. And before we get started, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Got it. Thank you, Chris. Hello. My name is Arvell Craig. I'm AI evangelist for VAgents. We are a conversational AI startup helping call centers, contact centers cut costs and scale their calling. My background is 20-something years in digital marketing. I've always been a nerd and a geek and a hustler, trying to use technology to make money, help people start out in small businesses, websites, and SEO, shift into automation. Chatbots in 2016, 2017 was a real strong niche. I thought that was like the second coming of email marketing. That was the way I could bring all my stuff and automate my life. I did it for 4 years and I love chatbots. And then COVID happened, business died, took a year off. Now I'm back in this AI world. It's different, but it's chat, it's AI. So I'm using all my experience of like marketing and chat and conversational marketing, apply that with AI to help companies figure this out, help people figure it out. And I'm also an author and a speaker as well on the AI topic. So that's a good overview of me.
I want everybody, we're going to talk about the new book and just what it's like speaking to all those people about AI. But first, I want to dive into what you're doing at VAgents because voice AI is very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
You see some demos, and now, were those real demos? Were they doctored demos? I don't know. But you see some of that and you're like, wow, this is the next phase of, like, this is really intelligent stuff. Can you give us maybe some examples of who would be a good client for VAgents and what would be the app? Like, what's the ideal use case for this type of tech that you guys have built?
Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks for the tee up to talk specifically about my company or the company I work for. So our company the parent company is in the lead generation space. So in the world of lead generation, when companies are not just hiring agencies and marketers to do work, they're just buying the results. Give me 100 leads a day, 1,000 leads a day. And the higher volume of scaling that operation, sometimes the quality isn't always there. The manpower to like call, because speed to lead is such a critical thing. What companies have done over the past 5-10 years is begin to outsource call centers, nearshore, offshore, even in the US. But the idea is that you have to talk to those leads as fast as possible and qualify them in order to make sure it's a good lead. And it's worth it. With the budgets that companies have, it's worth it that a lead generation company partners with a call center to qualify them in order to give them that lead. And so what our company does, or the parent company does, realize that there was the AI and conversational AI and things, the technology was getting really, really smart and really, really good. Like we were doing $100 million a year, or they do $100 million a year in selling phone calls. But we realized that AI could help out with the quality assurance. That's kind of a sister product. We started with a quality assurance that would listen to the calls to confirm it was good. But then VAgents was built to actually use understanding telephony and phone calls. Honestly, but you got to understand TCPA and the FCC regulations, automated technology. And I technically, when I mentioned my background, that stint after chatbots to now, I spent a year and a half in the compliance space of call center compliance. So I understand what's legally required to make high volumes of calls and texts, both nationally and on the state by state, because there's a lot of different laws you have to deal with. So what our company focuses in on, we're not like integration for a startup. We're not the ideal use case for somebody who's just doing, a couple $1,000s a month in ads and the AI. We're looking for people who already have and spending money with 10 to 50 to thousands of call center agents. We're looking for those people with a higher volume. And then they can start with us a minimum, you can call it 10 seats or 10 agents or 10 phone numbers, however you want to call it. That's how we start. So we're not, so it's not like a startup. We want to make sure they have volume already. Again, they understand TCPA and compliance, things like that. And what we do is we listen to their call record. We find what their best salespeople are doing. We create a script, but the AI is not really a script. It's more of a prompt. It's guidelines, how AI prompting works. You give it an identity. You give it like a job description. You feed it information, some FAQs on the company, and we give it like your use case or your job is to find these couple questions. People ask you things outside of scope. You can only kind of cover these FAQs. You bring them back and you make sure you answer 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. And depending on if they answer all the questions, if they meet the criteria, the AI would do a warm transfer to ideally to the main company's licensed agent, their tier 2 agent, the real sales closers who don't need to waste time fishing through the leads. So that's our core use case. Again, that's the minimum scope. Again, a lot of our industry is in either insurance, solar, mortgages, financial services, some mass tort or legal. So some of those high volume companies are the most likely candidate to get immediate benefit from what we're doing.
This is fascinating. Have you run kind of like the back of napkin, how much money that would save your 10 agents or whatever you want to call them, 10 inbounds versus that same Class B office space that's full of 10 agents with cubicles and drama and all that other kind of stuff. I ran a 40-seat call center that was full of all of that, the drama and learned a lot. Now, if this would have been virtual, my life would be easier.
Yeah.
But what is the cost savings for something like that? Have you guys, do you have a ballpark of what that would look like for a company?
Yeah, I mean, ballpark, because again, some companies, if you're going overseas, you may not be spending a lot per agent.
Sure.
We're right around $1,000 an agent per month. So technically you can maybe spend less overseas. In the US, you're definitely initially, but there's multiple layers and I'll get into it. It's not just one-to-one comparison. If it's a US person who's $4,000 or $5,000 a month, we're definitely 75% cheaper. But as you mentioned, there's not just your staff. There's your office, your supervisors, recruiting, your training, your turnover, churn. So there's all those different costs are all factored in. Again, we provide the phone number, we provide the DID, the deliverability, and make sure that the numbers stay clean. We kind of provide all those things in our platform. We just connect to your CRM. So again, I would say you can at least say 80% is a good ballpark on those 10 agents.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Right? That's huge. If it was 20%, it would be huge. Now, one thing you didn't mention was that I'm assuming that for $1,000 a month per agent, they're also working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Gotcha.
Is that right?
That's a huge factor. But again, back towards compliance and legalese. If somebody calls in, we can leave it open, definitely for inbound. Again, if you understand FCC regulations and state laws, you're definitely going to one that, we're definitely always pricing it from that, from 8 a.m. East Coast time to, certain time West Coast. So we're looking at still 10 to 12 hours a day, I would say. 5 days a week at the most conservative setup. But again, we're not, legally required to control what you're doing, but I'm always advising people just to stay safe because all this stuff is still new, right? People are wondering, can I even do it legally? Can an AI talk to me? All those kind of things. But again, if you understand TCPA and how the regulations deal with auto dialers, it's going to be very similar. If you think about cold calling, you're not going to cold call with an AI thing where you shouldn't cold call with a dialer. So again, there's other nuances that people need to be understanding.
So this is primarily going to be for inbound use. So if somebody's got a big national campaign or a regional campaign that's generating a lot of inbound calls, this would be a good solution for them.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is inbound and outbound.
And outbound.
Yeah. But the outbound, you just want to make sure you have some type of certification that you legally have permission that they want to call, even for customer service, even for again, you got your new for onboarding. Like you mentioned, somebody can be a new customer and we can follow all the customers and clarify, make sure they're actually using the service. There's all kind of use cases that do include outbound as well.
So for the listeners, if you're not familiar with the compliance requirements for using a telephone in commercial activity, they're big. And the fines for you not complying with things, like us as consumers, we have protections that us as business owners, if we're not doing it the right way, the fines can be 6 figures, 7 figures for a small business who's got some small infractions. So it's very important you do this compliantly, as Arvell has made us, clear for us for sure. Now, that's very fascinating. I hope that any of you who are listening who are interested in finding out more, we'll add whatever contact info in the show notes for sure, Arvell, but where can they go? Is there a place like right now, VAgents.com?
VAgents.com. Yep.
Nice. Just like the third. So go check it out. And because this is if you can dial in this voice AI, it's hard to have an edge now, especially if your competition is very AI immersed, right?
Right.
Voice AI is one of those areas where you can, if you dial this in, you can I see that as being a big advantage. So it's very cool that you're doing that. Now, you let me know that you had released a new book, and I was very excited about it because it was specifically addressing common use cases that most of us would encounter in our business and some AI-ification that could occur to those. Tell us about the book.
No, thank you. So the book is called the AI Strategy Playbook. And I wrote it like in this year, 3-4 months ago. I was doing workshops every week to my email list, to my audience about AI. How do you use it? How can you use AI to replace one task per week? That was my hook that I was doing. And again, the biggest thing was happening. People just, again, because we're nerds, we kind of are more into it. Most people just like, I don't understand what can AI do. They just weren't wrapping their heads around what can I do right now? Not just a theory, not Sora and all these fancy things you see online or Twitter that are not reality yet. But for most people, I wrote the book. So the subtitle is 21 Marketing Plays to Cut Costs, Increase Performance, and Increase Adoption. So the goal was just very, very simple. It's written for leaders, marketing leaders. Again, most people I know, they're too busy. They understand it from a distance. They're reading the headlines. They're either scared or they're confused. But in reality, they're just doing their regular work. And I think you're fine. You're not going to be the nerd, but let me do the nerd for you. So the book does, it just shows you this is what you can do to plan out your marketing campaigns. Here's some plays for planning. Here's some plans for like production and producing content creation, which is the main thing we hear about. But this is what AI can do. When I say AI, I mean generative AI, which I mean it's Claude or OpenAI's AI. And I say, here's what AI can do to personalize your marketing. Right. Nice. So it's broken up in these 5 seconds. And I got to give credit to Paul Reitzer in the Marketing AI Institute for these 5 P's of marketing AI. I got the categories from him, but the plays are just my own plays. And then like once you have your content, it's your strategy, your plan, your content, personalized, how do you promote it? How do you get it out there? That's the promotion category. And I just give some ideas. If you don't know what it can do, this is what you can do. And then lastly, how do you tweak the performance? How do you optimize? How do you look at spreadsheets and data and analytics and let AI teach you what you don't do, your business intelligence, things like that. So those are the 5 categories. And I give 3 or 4 ideas for each one. Like VAgents is in there. If you have a call center, and I always preface, if this is a situation, then this is something you may want to consider. And every chapter or every play, that's all it says. If you don't have a good irresistible offer, you don't know if people aren't converting, you may want to look into how can AI help me improve my offer. So I reference Alex Hormozi. He's got a great book on offers. And I say, if you haven't read the book, AI can teach you the book. Or you can find a YouTube link or a blog, put in AI and say, using this framework from Alex Hormozi, how can I make my offer more irresistible? So theoretically, I would increase my conversion. So I give the idea. I just want people to think. So and then when you're done, when it's time to execute, well, then you figure out, say, you either come to me for a referral, I can teach you some of these things, or I can connect you to someone, or I can connect you to a tool, because you may not need to try to figure out prompts yourself. You may want to get to an organization such as Chief AI Officer if you want to just enroll in a full comprehensive training, but kind of give just a framework in the book. And then I point to different resources when you're ready to take the next step.
So I saw some social posts. You had been speaking somewhere, and I guess that you had handed out to some of the attendees copies of the books. Their reactions, when your friend writes a book, you're like, "Oh, congratulations!" But honestly, I've gotten a lot of first, what do they call those, publisher prints or whatever. Love my friends. I'm a busy man. I can't read them.
Yeah.
So, but to see that these people at the event were going through your book and were so engaged with it that they were making social posts and excited about the information that was in the books. That's great. So you get a chance to speak a lot, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And give me some idea of kind of maybe a random sampling of some of the places that you've spoken or will be speaking, just so that I kind of get how broad the spectrum of audience is.
Yeah. I mean, of course, AI is such a hot topic and it's everywhere. So last week I was at LeadsCon, which is the largest lead generation conference, I think, in the country. 3,000 to 4,000 people were there. I was on a panel talking about AI's opportunities and threats. The week before that, I was in Chicago. Digital Summit is a series of regional marketing trainings all around the country. I was there 2 months ago. I'll be there in Kansas City. In May, I'll be there in Atlanta. In October, I may be there. So it's a series for marketers. I'm there. And then here, I live in Arizona. And so I've got some events with some community colleges next week. This week, I was speaking to a trucking company's organization, their national or their business meeting. So there's a lot of there's a variety of places, whether it's a big event or a small event. Again, because it's moving so fast, there's no way you can stay up to date. And for most people, it's a waste. You can't keep up. You don't just want to know what's new. You want to know what's relevant. As again, how can I use AI at work today? Because the more you use it today, it's like a muscle that you have to exercise, whether or not AI looks like it's going to look like this in the future. So there's just so much value. Go to an event, find an expert, find out what's happening and apply it as soon as possible so that you can, again, work that muscle so that you can navigate when things speed up even more,
Great point. So that was a good answer about the audience, because the next question, I didn't want it to be I only talk to doctors. Well, input you give me will only be related to them. But because you talk with so many different, business backgrounds, what are the commonalities? Because I know I've been a speaker. At the end, if people like it, they run up and they go, "Hey, I got a question." Hey, you get that little group around you, right? In those instances for you, are you seeing commonality of the questions that are being asked? Is there a general few questions that you're hearing over and over?
Actually, no. Again, when I was doing things earlier this year, there was a common theme of questions of, I don't understand, what can I do? Recently, depending on if I'm talking about VAgents, if I'm talking to call centers, contact centers, if I'm explaining how I think it's Klarna has an AI that does the work of 700 people, which is great. 2.3 million tickets, it's solved. But the other half of that picture is 700 people no longer have a job. Some people are coming to me asking, not everybody's looking to fire people. Some people how do I maintain? So there's some leaders last week was talking about, how do I keep people? Or someone say, what's going to happen? What do you think? What jobs are going to be gone? As they're kind of wanting some prediction for their own self-preservation of their jobs. There's those questions, and other times that it's more like the risks. A lot of it is speculation. What do you think is going to happen when it comes to what's going to happen on a more that negative side?
When people ask you about what do I do with my staff that now AI can do it better, faster, stronger, what do you tell people? What about how do people mitigate that with their staff that's no longer necessary for that role?
Yeah, again, most people haven't got there, but they're worried. So to me, you gotta crawl before you walk. There's just two things going to happen. Two things. I said, number one, you want to be transparent with your staff and your team because you want to get them involved and not fearful and not, sticking to their calculators when there's the internet. So you want to create an environment where they feel comfortable. You want to have some kind of policies and some advising on what you can and cannot do. So there's those kind of things that will come up. And again, I think it's still early before most jobs are going to be affected. But as you experiment more and as you see what's going to happen, And if you're honest and open with your people, I believe there's going to be I think there's going to be new opportunities, not for everybody,
Yes.
but if your company no longer has to do A, B, and C, it's not just going to cut your cost, but if you're an entrepreneur, your business owner, your mind is still racing. You're going to be able to see things that you've never seen before. And there's a lot, I want to just help them to leave some room for that opportunity to experiment, to evolve, and to figure out what new opportunities can you come up with. Because again, your staff of 500, if all those 500 have an AI helping them, your next quarter, your next season of growth could be keeping the same people all managed. Instead of adding another 500 people, you can keep those people. And so I think there's a lot of nuance to what the future will look like. And if you're flexible and fluid and open, it's not just less and less and less people. There's going to be some kind of new opportunities and new things to think through as well.
Times to be in generative AI for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, so I got a question. With the people that you were talking to at the beginning of the year, where you seem to be getting more like discovery type, and now the conversations tend to be more, it almost sounds like people have had a chance to evaluate it. Now they're coming up with that next stage of question. Oh, does that mean this or that? Do you think that the people that you're encountering in, April are already more AI literate than that same person was in January? You think that's what's okay?
Yeah, definitely. And I've tried to, and again, I'm always speaking. I like being specific and practical, but I'm also trying to give people the right way to think about it, the frameworks, the paradigms they can see. And one of my biggest things back in January, I was realizing, again, maybe again, those are probably smaller companies. They were trying to use AI to do things that they've never done before. Like, oh, I can do this now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool, but I'd recommend do what you already are good at. Do what you know really well. You understand the frameworks. You can analyze it. You can judge it. So that was something that I kept having to run back towards. Like, you're not doing it now. So I'm always kind of leaning back towards find out what you're already doing. Learn AI to manage that faster, cheaper, scalable before you start to use AI. AI is going to make phone calls and do cold call for me. Like, are you making cold calls now? Well, no.
Figure it out. Yeah. I hadn't considered that perspective that people, because here's what happens. If you apply it to your existing business, you end up creating more time. And with that, once you've done that, with that more time, then maybe you say, well, we've never had the horsepower to do content, so let's explore it. But great point. Don't the shiny thing today at the expense of your existing operation, how you keep the lights on, right? Like get that dialed in with AI and then explore some more, I guess, like second effect use cases for your business. So great advice there. Let me ask, how do you stay on top? How do you stay like in the loop of what's happening? Because this stuff happens, most fast, tools change, tools like evolve rapidly. How do you stay on the edge?
Yeah. So I used to look on Twitter, follow a bunch of people, sign up for a bunch of newsletters, the AI newsletters. That was number 2. Number 3 was podcasts. And number 4 was some Slack communities, which me and you are in a couple of them. It was all 4. I have definitely, again, the past 4 or 5 months, decreased most of those. I listen to maybe a podcast 1 per week, 1 or 2 per week.
One is you.
As compared to daily. And then I also try to go through my Slack communities for their updates a few times a week. Because that's the thing. I think that the challenge, even the thing about AI is like, and this is where I've had to, because there's never been anything in the world that I know of, in my 20 years of being a professional, an adult, as sexy. If there's ever been a shiny object syndrome, this is the worst ever. If you ever struggled with that, this is the worst ever.
Yep.
But with that, the need to reinforce the foundations of your life, of what is success, of what's economically and the business valuation. To me, that's the challenge. And so I have been reinforcing my commitment to fundamentals. So even like AI, somebody told me, because man, I was in chatbots for, 3-4 years. And I thought it was, okay, nobody wants a chatbot. COVID's here, the world's ending. And it's like, if you're too early, and I realized like a lot of this there's a lot of success in the boring. And this is I'm learning. There's a lot of success in the fundamentals. And that's where I am challenged. And that's when I speak to audiences, my main talk, when I talk about how to use AI to get a breakthrough, to really change your business, 80-70% is all about the fundamentals of your business, of your processes. And only when you really understand the business fundamentals, the value proposition of what your company does, the needs of your customer, most of that does not relate to technology. Technology is not your limiting. Technology is not the thing that keeps you where you are in your business. And that's why, so it's kind of weird, not weird, but I'm checking myself. I want to talk about AI. I do it all the time. The goal of AI is to make my life happier, to make more money, to provide for my family, and to make an impact. And if you really look at those things, happy, money, impact, whatever, the thing that keeps you from making an impact, of touching people's lives, of doing whatever, may or may not be a techie AI related. So you have to control yourself. And that's really the second half of my message, is always to balance and to reinforce the foundations of what really makes a difference, what's meaningful, what's going to be most impactful, because AI may or may not be the thing that you really, really need right now to get to the next level. So let's just be honest about it.
I talk to people and I say, listen, if you don't have a plan for your business, and it's already chaotic, AI is just going to allow you to be more chaotic faster, right? It's not the solution. The fundamentals, without those, start with the fundamentals and then say, okay, now that I've got that mapped out, where can AI plug into that? But don't do it the other way around. You got a great point there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So are you, just to get back to podcasts. So folks, there's a part that I like a whole lot, and it's called the Artificial Intelligence Show, I guess, with Paul Roy.
Yeah.
Is that the one that you were talking
That's
about?
The one. That's
and everybody I talk to who is serious about, like exploring AI and applying it, that's the number one podcast they all listen to. So for the listeners, that's like an insight. I mean, they got more than just me and Arvell listening to, of course, but they do a great job. What about, are there any YouTube guys, or, do you not fool around with TikTok? Because TikTok now, it seems that there's a pattern, and here's my 100 shitty prompts. Here's, like it's almost like a bunch of, like hucksters almost, that I don't know that they're doing a service for establishing the legitimacy of what generative AI can do for a business. But I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. Are there any social profiles that you tend to follow where you're getting good intel?
The only other resource, there is the AI Exchange. It's definitely, and the people in there, just that other Slack group, and she's on TikTok. Oh,
that's right.
So
Rachel Wood.
Yeah. So she's highly, so just her community. It's like she's all the people that she's connected to in that group.
Yeah.
But the biggest one lately to balance, is, Ethan Malik.
Yes.
So I just bought his book, Co-Intelligence. Yeah. And, I'm listening to it. I think I'm halfway done. So he's lately, and his one useful thing is this Substack group, Substack channel or newsletter. So he's like a core person that him and Paul Raitzer are the two that I'm pretty much committed to taking my time, because they don't just give you the highlights. They give you the business fundamentals or the ways to think about the adoption and the policies, and Ethan Malik's talking about how to use it even in a university, and how to have a heart of curiosity and experimentation. And but those two are like my main content sources that I'm on
tracking.
Regularly. Yeah, definitely.
Instead of listening, I'm going to put those in the show notes, because I think it's interesting that Arvell obviously knows what he's doing. He's talking to crowds all over the country, soon to be all over the world, I'm sure, about this topic. This is probably what he dreams about. Me too. When I'm walking the dog, I think about this stuff. And for both of us to endorse it's the Marketing AI Institute, but their podcast is called the Artificial Intelligence Show. And for both of us to say, heck yeah, Ethan Mollick, Mollick, he has perspectives that are worth consideration. I would say for you listener, whether you're pro or not at this stuff, if those aren't on your radar, get them there. You'll get a lot of value out of it. Very cool. So what is the benefit of the speaking for you as a business? Is it on behalf of the agents? Is there an interest in being like a much more active speaker?
No, thanks for asking. I mean, honestly, it's both. Again, 5-6 years ago, when I was on Chatbots and nobody was talking about it, that became my number one way to get in, because I was mainly partnering with marketing managers and at SMBs, being a consultant. Yeah. So that was my main way to get in front of people. And actually, I liked speaking. So those things went together. As I've gotten more into it, speaking has become the door opener for most of like my current job. My speaking, my brand, my personal brand or whatever has helped me get in the door. So I am 100% always representing the agents currently and their products. I'm always talking because it's very practical conversation. It relates to my chatbot and conversation AI. But me as a human, the next 20, 30 years, I do plan to continue to get better at the craft of speaking. That goes back towards, I just want to throw it out on the AI thing. AI, as it does more and more and more, how do you as a professional become more and more and more yourself? And as far as I can concern, who I am when I speak is I'm never going to have an AI do that for me, because it's like an art. It's not just the results. I actually like the experience. I like the human connection. So I think, again, I just want to jump in that topic, because when AI does more and more and more for you, what's the future going to look like? I think individuals will need to like develop. If you don't know what you love to do, I understand work is about work and work is about money, and that not everybody follows their passions, but it wouldn't hurt to know what your passion is. Because if you're delegating more and more stuff to AI, leaning more into it. So speaking is definitely a passion. I used to just speak for free. Now I get paid to speak, and it's just evolved. And I'm studying the craft of speaking, the craft of education and entertainment, and all those things go together. So it's definitely a commitment for me.
I guess that leads an obvious question. Are you using AI in your speaking preparation, speaking practice?
That's a great question. The answer is no. But a few months ago, I was trying to get on this TED Talk, and the guy who was kind of coaching mentioned he had an AI that would evaluate your delivery. So it was an way to to monitor the sound and the fluctuation of your content. So that is something that's on the back of my mind, because I'm always thinking, I'm talking about AI. I never feel like I use it enough, but that's one that I may look into. And one other thing, again, there is the way AI can make presentations. There's certain, I think it's maybe beautiful or whatever, but the way you can make decks, I am challenged to use it more for decks. And then thirdly, I'm challenged to use AI to research and to keep me updated on the newest facts versus me, again, looking at all the feeds and studying and following people. If AI could do 90%. So those are the three things where I'm curious and interested in using it, but for the most part, I don't use it a lot, but I do want to add in more in those areas.
Yeah, using it, like finding that perfect AI-powered pitch deck creator. I'm on the hunt for that as well. So if I find it, I'll let you know for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
What I want to circle back to is, you mentioned that, so chatbots, well used. Actually, I prefer them in a lot of cases for customer service. I'd rather just get the answer than wait for the human. So chatbots aren't today, they're not like exotic. But when you first started messing with them, you were early, as you mentioned. Now, and like early to the point to where you're probably like a couple of years at least early to the chatbot really getting traction. With AI, do you think with the tools that you're building at VAgents and the topics that we're talking about, do you think that we are still exotic early in generative AI and small business?
Yeah, definitely. It's like chatbots came out and there was NLP, there was natural language processing. It was like, it could pick up keywords, and it's like, people oversold it and they tried to make them do more than they could. And so users were kind of frustrated, and I think things dipped. And then I felt like live chat kind of came. Maybe live chat was out first. It's always live chat, but who wants to staff that? Chatbots come out, and then it goes back. I think live chat kind of came in, and now with AI, the main thing I feel like that's limiting the chatbots is like it's gated. It's like, let me capture that lead. Give me your name and email. Qualify yourself. Push these buttons. It's not yet really fluid. It's not really helpful. It's not dynamic based upon the page. And so there's a lot of opportunities that I think where it's more integrated into the website experience. I think there's going to be developments and advancements there. And maybe it's more when it's more audio and it's more maybe connected to the hardware. Maybe if there's a dynamic connection between Siri and the website, where there's something, but I do think there's a lot because there's still friction and you don't get what you want fast enough yet. And I think, but again, the mindset is like lead gen. The mindset is like, I got to protect, like, why didn't you even name an email? Like, it's taken, like, you don't need to gate your chatbot.
Everything. Yeah.
So but that's a paradigm, which is fine from an inbound marketing paradigm or a demand gen paradigm that's applied to chat versus if you had a human at a trade show, you're not going to say, hey, give me your email, drop your card in the bucket, and then I'm going to talk to you. For those paradigms of how we're using that of the paradigm with chatbots, and I think that limits its effectiveness. And eventually, it's going to be trusted enough to be more nuanced, more open. That when that goes away, people will just go to the website and just start talking. And there's going to be, I think there's going to be something like there's something there. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming.
And it's pretty fascinating, like, because that kind of sends me off on some, so now, because I would imagine it'd be pretty easy to set it up to where it was text to voice or voice to voice through a bot. So like I use Pi sometimes when I'm walking, and Pi's been pretty good at mapping out automations, believe it or not. Like if you say, I want to do this, Pi will say, go to Zapier. And anyway, for geeks, that's an insider tip. But like, I'm used to engaging with an AI via voice to voice. As more people do that, I would imagine that they're going to want to see that on-site experience for support or questions or whatever. To be also congruent with their off-page experience, which is, like, of course you can type into ChatGPT, but for those of you who don't have the ChatGPT mobile app, you can do voice to voice. You can talk to it. It'll say beep. It'll respond to you in voice. Pretty fascinating stuff. It started me spinning a little bit. But one of the things that I wanted to also talk about with that being early in the bot space was the distance between the gap between early and now more relevant was a number of years. With AI, I think that the distance between early and like obligatory, I have to have it. It's not a couple. We're talking about literally like maybe measured in 1 or 2 quarters of a business's lifespan. Because if a business is still on the fence in 2024, either your business going to moderately, like you're not that serious about your business in the first place. I don't mean that derogatory or negatively. Some of you may just want a lifestyle business and you might not want to push the edges of optimization and all those things. So I just think that it was an interesting, because bots back then were okay. Bots now, I'm interested, right? Like show me some tech. But that was a couple years. And now I thought I was late because I didn't start messing around with ChatGPT until like March of last year. And it came out in November 20. I thought I was late back then.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, damn. But so what's your thought? Like is there a legitimate urgency for businesses to start figuring this stuff out? Or is it because you and I live in a, like at the tip of the spear that it seems that way?
Good question. I mean, I say AI and it's inevitable. I mean, you can't be too fast with it right now.
Agreed.
I mean, again, so we say if it's 1993 and maybe the internet is out, but it's not widely adopted. Like you said, but that time, you're saying your argument is that the time that it's going to take for it to be influence your market is going to come really, really fast. You got a point. Yeah. So I would agree that the acceleration of whatever the curve is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen in history because of the technology and the processors.
And I guess honestly, like, why would you hesitate even if it was one use case like the VAgent environment? Why would you hesitate if the tech was established, the customer said, "Hey, I'm okay either way. I prefer fast response," and they're getting it from the technology? For the listeners, there's no benefit to you saying, I'm going to, maybe before you transform your entire business, perhaps, but there's certain things that you could do right now that there's no logic behind waiting before you implement it, whether that's customer service, content, voice agents, whatever the case might be. So, I don't know. We'll close on that perspective.
Yeah.
I love these because I get a chance to talk to people who are more than casual users, the people that are, as Ethan Mollick talks about, those 3 sleepless nights. Like until you've had 3 sleepless nights because you're considering, wow, does that mean generative AI can do this and this and this, right? That you haven't quite had your aha moment is what he mentions. So I don't get a chance to talk to people who have had those 3 sleepless nights and are really thinking about deep edge case application and business of these things. So sometimes I ask some random questions.
No, I like it. I know it's a good question. There's another quote Ethan Mollick talks about advanced, something like disruptive technology. You can only be too slow or too early. And in regards to your question, there is a lot of unknown. And just the fact that I think AI is so much associated with uncertainty as compared to any technology in the past, from mobile phones to the internet, there was no fear associated with its growth. AI has a stigma where there's fear associated. So people are going slower because it isn't just all positive. There's other things associated. And I think that makes more people slower to quickly jump on it. But that is a truth that when you're too late, you could be too late, but not that you can't recover from that. Cause I always like to end on a positive, even if you fail and you have to start a new company, which I recommend. Why would you do that? But it would just start. I say, be positive, be transparent, have a culture of experimentation, and don't worry about failing. I mean, those are some of the things I kind of lead off on. If you're really not dipping your toe in there, anybody can see the negative. Anybody can see the fear. The only thing evil about AI is the humans who drive AI. So don't worry about that. Be positive, be proactive, experiment, and be transparent with your team and your customers. And that's a good place to kind of get going.
It's a fantastic way to end this. So listen, I want more people to hear more of what you've got to say. So where can they go to? I'd love for them to be able to get the book for sure. If they're interested in VAgents, if you want to just kind of give us some contact info, all of which, if you're a listener and you're driving, will be in the show notes. Please go to the show notes to access this.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, so VAgents.com. We'll have links there. I would say Comply is our other AI that does quality assurance. Again, if you don't know what the AI is talking about, you can use a Habit product to listen to, our AI to listen to the AI. Again, my name is Arvell Craig. So arvellcraig.com has information on my speaking. I'm on Substack. I'm published every week now. I'm finally consistent publishing a newsletter on AI workflows for wealth. That's kind of the title there. Besides that, I'm on most all social media, mainly Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, a little bit of Twitter. You can find me anywhere. And would love to chat with anyone more who's got more questions and things like that.
Cool. So they can get the book at arvellcraig.com.
Yes.
Okay, great. Guys, based on the feedback that I saw almost real time from some of Arvell's recent speaking engagements where the book was distributed, people like this book and they like the use cases. So I would encourage you to grab a copy of it. There's nothing better than having a roadmap of, even if it's just the ideas of areas where you can start to apply this. Very helpful. So with that, all right, everybody, thank you. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Using AI at Work. Don't forget to subscribe for more conversations about how to use AI at work. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Chief AI Officer, for empowering businesses with AI education and training. Visit their website for a free AI readiness assessment and AI strategy guide to help you get started using AI at work. That's www.chiefaiofficer.com. Special thanks to our producer, Evan DeSaulnier, for making this episode possible. Follow us on Twitter at the handle Using AI at Work, and visit www.usingaiatwork.com for free resources to help you harness AI in your role.